Once again, it's on. Hello, my name is Cheo Hodari Coker, the former showrunner of Marvel's Luke Cage. Also was the co-writer of Notorious. Got Jay-Z over my shoulder because, New York hip hop all day, even though I am in I don't want to say an undisclosed location in Honolulu, Hawaii, which, man, I can't say I'm the only brother out here because there's plenty of brothers in the military out here. But I'm probably just in terms of blurred television writer. I might be one of one. Although I bet you I do that next week. Some brother will be, hey man, how can you mention me on the podcast? Anyway, I'm Cheo Hodari Coker, and I'm here with
David Betancourt.
Y juntos somos Blerds in the Attic. You know what I'm saying? It was funny. Somebody had a comment last week saying, "Hey, man, it's just too good to see two Latin American brothers." Like, there's only one Latin American brother on this podcast. I just happened to, at one point, I lived in Barcelona, Spain. I was on this program called School Year Abroad. But also, growing up in Connecticut, and just being around stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like my accent. Like I'm fluent in Spanish. I don't. Si quiero hablar con alguien de España, puedo hablar así, pero no me gusta hacer eso.
That is wild that I can hear the Spain accent. That's what people don't realize about the Spanish language, that every country has their accent. And I heard that Spain in there, brother. It was...
But para mí, es más natural hablar así. Y no sé lo que esto es. I don't know if that's got a little bit of Dominican, Puerto Rican swagger. It's not Mexican, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, this is not a language podcast. This is a podcast.
And there is only half a Latin American on here. That's what Cheo's trying to get at. We are both brothers. Yes. And I'm proud of it. Absolutely. But Cheo is not Latino, but he speaks Spanish very well.
Yeah. And I co with the movie Lowriders. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, like we're here. Couple things. Like, I don't know if there was a glitch last week, just in terms of the sync, we apologize. Hopefully this will be a better broadcast. We are learning this as we go along. Also at the same time, we tried this whole thing where we reacted to the Michael Jackson trailer, but y'all couldn't see it. And so David has fixed that. So we're going to try to do some of that stuff again. I think this is a really interesting week. I mean, a couple things to get into. Just in general, man, like the thing about this podcast, I don't know who our audience is because I thought maybe we'd get the occasional Luke Cage fan that kind of comes after me for killing Cottonmouth. I thought maybe some people that, had beef with something that you wrote in the Washington Post back in the day might be commenting. But of all things to get our most comments, Dominican birthday cake, man.
That I was not ready for that when our producer Jen let us know that was our first TikTok to hit 10,000 views. And last time I checked, that thing was at about 45,000 views,
Wow.
which is just wild. It just shows you how much of an audience is on TikTok. And that's kind of where we are now. Whereas, you and I have both, over the course of our careers, cultivated these large group of followers in the thousands, and in your case, tens of thousands over on the Bird, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. But the social media landscape is so all over the place right now. And as we continue to grow this podcast, we're trying to figure out where we know they're out there. We have the followers, but it's just kind of, we're all over the place. We put stuff on Facebook, we put stuff on Instagram. We put this broadcast, the video of it, on YouTube. But it is a process to once you've cultivated an audience, letting them know you're on another platform. And that's kind of what we're going through right now.
Yeah, but we clearly, okay, your assignment, should you choose to accept it when you make this Mission Impossible style, find a Dominican bakery and see if you can't get them to sponsor this podcast. And we can guarantee that we'll do at least 45 seconds to a minute of the podcast in Spanish, and we can talk about the Dominican, bakery or their birthday cakes in Spanish. We can go back and forth about them. We can do that.
It's hilarious you bring that up. I'm actually, I was just talking to my wife earlier today, and she was letting me know that her sister wants to do something for her birthday, which is coming up later this month, and we're gonna have a big party for her here at our place. And one of the first things I said is there gonna be some cake there? And she just she gave me this stupid look like what do you think? Like, it's a Dominican birthday party. What do you think?
Yeah.
So so I'm actually, geekily excited. So that'll be a nice little prelude to grubbing at Thanksgiving, having a
Okay.
little bit more Dominican cake, which as we have stated, spiritual experience. Obviously the audience is out there for Dominican cake. So if Blerds in the Attic doesn't work out, maybe we just start going up to New York and reviewing all the Dominican cake spots and find our audience there.
Yeah, we could do that, man. I'm saying we go up in Washington Heights. We just kind of just start hanging out, like what's what.
Washington Heights. Speaking
See.
of Los Dominicanos, let me be the first to congratulate the Dominican Republic because today up at Citi Field where the New York Mets play, they had a first of its kind exhibition between all-stars from the Puerto Rican Baseball League and all-stars of Lidom, the Dominican Baseball League. There were some old-timers on there. Robinson Cano was playing his last game
Oh wow.
on U.S. soil. He's still playing in Mexico. He still plays in DR every now and then, but it wasn't the World Baseball Classic. So these are
Hmm.
like the best players. Some major leaguers sprinkled in there, but these are the best players from the respective leagues of the islands.
Hmm.
Obviously, a very big deal in New York. I myself, they got an unseasonably warm day today, so they kind of lucked out a little bit in terms of the weather. But this was the first time. This series over the last few years has normally been a showcase of the Dominican League taking advantage of the huge Dominican community out there. But this time it was DR versus PR, and DR won. So congrats to the Dominicans. I told I have YouTube TV, which
Hmm.
didn't air the game. There are certain channels or networks or providers that
Right.
showing this game. I had none of them, so all I could do
Hmm.
was keep checking online. And every time I checked online, it was not good news.
Right.
So I'm
No,
a
well,
little
see, for those who don't understand, okay, there is civil war in the Betancourt household because Gila is Dominicana and you are Puerto Rican, and so let's just say that my man David is on the couch a lot.
and Gila loves her some baseball too. That was actually one of the first things that I really said wow about her. It's like I could actually talk to her about baseball and just how knowledgeable she was about it in terms of the game, how it's played, the passion that her country has for it. But when I told her, she came home today, she was out and about, and I said, "Hey, you guys won," and she just was like, "Claro." I hate
Yeah,
when she says that.
of course, of course. The first thing he said
Claro,
was,
as Cheo just said,
you
means
know,
of course.
he said, "Claro que sí, porque somos dominicanos." That's like, you know, a Jamaican foot race. Come on, man.
Never
You know
lacking
what I mean?
Jamaican
Like, it's like
Yeah, she was saying bolted.
you're gonna get small. It's just like like that was that was always like the Usain Bolt joke in Luke Cage. I always thought was you're not faster than Usain Bolt. like that was one of the things that okay, I will reveal one thing that we did want to do for season 3 of Luke Cage was we were planning on going back to Jamaica to film one of the episodes, and had I gotten my way, had the season happened, Luke would have raced Usain Bolt.
Oh, that would have been dope.
It would have been
I bet
that was
Mike
one
would
of,
have loved filming that scene too.
yeah, that was one of the crazy cameos I really wanted to get in there. You know what I'm saying? There are I can't get into plot stuff, but like the aborted season 3 was dope, man. Uh, some of the stuff I've already talked about. Public Enemy titles. You know, like the first episode would have been what you call it, Public Enemy #1, kind of reflecting Luke's gangster element. And the last episode, episode 13, would have been Rebel Without a Boss.
Yeah.
So it we had some interesting stuff going.
Well, that's dope, man. That it's a wild world. We're about to have a third season of Daredevil. So never say never when it comes to that original Netflix Marvel universe. But back to the Dominican. I don't want the Dominicans to think I'm throwing shade at them. Congrats, y'all won. We will see you at the World Baseball Classic this spring. Be ready. Although I just found out that one of my favorite Puerto Rican baseball players, Enrique
Mm-hmm.
Quique Hernandez, who anyone who's from LA knows plays for the Dodgers. The Dodgers just won their second straight World Series title.
With the best Game 7 of all time. Oh my
Oh
God,
my
that
God.
Game 7 was
I've been watching
ridiculous.
baseball my whole life. That was the greatest World Series game 7
Well,
I ever watched.
the thing for me was the game that made me fall in love with baseball as a kid was, and this is funny, I'm going to really date myself, but the first baseball game that I truly remember was Reggie Jackson with a home run at every at bat as a kid. Like when you see that, you think, oh, well, everybody that comes up to hit a home
Not
run.
that easy.
I mean, and I remember, eating like Reggie bars. Yeah, like he had his own candy bar, which back in the day that was unheard of. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I've always, you know, growing up born in New Haven, grew up in stores, so lived in various parts of Connecticut. And the thing about being living in Connecticut is that like if you're in the if you're basically a Hartford and above, you're probably going to be a Red Sox fan. If you're below, or honestly, just being black, you're going to be a Yankees or a Mets fan. Because I mean, at the time, the Red Sox had Oil Can Boyd, Jim Rice. I mean, they just never had too many black players. It
Right.
took them a long time to really kind of diversify.
And that's a whole nother
And
podcast.
Exactly. But I grew up basically following the Yankees. Then of course, that Mets team, man. With Gooden and Strawberry.
That
That '86,
86
the
team.
'86 Mets, man.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that Game 7. Good God, that was amazing.
I watched that game 7 here in the attic with Gila's 2 nephews who are now grown. They've been in our lives since they came over to the U.S. from DR when they were little. And we were all just like mesmerized by Rojas's home run and the crazy catch and Shohei Ohtani. And I mean, the Blue Jays looked like the better team the entire series. They went to LA and totally smoked them on the road in LA. And obviously, they have a great Dominican in Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who's the son of Vladimir Guerrero, one of the greatest baseball players ever. But that is to say, one of my favorite Puerto Rican baseball players, Quique Hernandez, just announced today that he had surgery on, I think, his left arm, and he is not going to be able to play in the World Baseball Classic. And Quique, if you know anything about Quique, he's a great player, very solid player, but he kicks it up a gear in October every single time he's in the playoffs. And I was so looking forward to him bringing that to playing for his country, his people, his heritage, as he's done in the past playing for Team Puerto Rico. So it's not a great day to be half Puerto Rican, my brother. We got our butts handed to us up in New York. Got the Claro que sí from Gila because she just assumed we were going to win anyway. And now Quique is not playing in the World Baseball Classic, which is, to me, the bigger deal because the World Baseball Classic, that's like where you're getting every country's dream team, every country's best Major League Baseball players, which the Americans didn't take seriously for a while. See, it's sensitive for me because the 2 times we've been to the championship, Puerto Rico, and come in second, we lost to the Dominican Republic.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 2013. That was right when our second daughter was born, and that was when the Dominicans became the first WBC team to go undefeated and win the whole thing without losing. That team was stacked. And then the second time in 2017, the year we beat the Dominican Republic in the WBC, and I was talking mad crap when that happened. It's a miracle I survived that. Um, when that happened, we lost to the United States in the WBC championship, which was hard because the pitcher for the United States was Marcus Stroman, his father's African American, his mother is Puerto Rican.
There you go.
And so it's like a Puerto Rican shut us down. Now, Marcus now pitches for Puerto Rico. He pitched for Puerto Rico in the last WBC. He's going to pitch for us in this one, but no Quique. So I haven't gotten a lot of good baseball news. So I'm just a grumpy half Puerto Rican right now.
There you go. We see, but you've always been grumpy half Puerto
I
Rican, so it
have.
doesn't matter.
That's kind of part of being Puerto Rican, though, is being grumpy. Like, the original David Betancourt can preach the gospel on that. We can be a little grumpy sometime, but it is what it is. But I'm not a good baseball day for me, man.
No, sorry about that.
I had it all. I had the outfit all picked out. I had my PR hoodie and my PR hat that matched up. I was like, I'm gonna be fly on here, flexing and representing. As you can see, I'm not wearing that. So.
Yeah. Oh well, man. The one thing I gotta say, and this is not at all to denigrate my new state of Hawaii, but it absolutely has to be the worst place to watch sports. And it's not because people here don't love sports, because the thing is that so many football
Oh,
players
they produce so many athletes.
are coming out. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks. I mean,
Yep.
it's interesting because there's a game in Madrid that's about to happen
You had to bring up
tomorrow, where you got Marcus Mariota and Tua, who both went to the same high school out here in Honolulu, to St. Louis,
Hawaiian
and
legend.
they're both facing off against each other in Madrid. But the crazy part about being out here is that during daylight savings time, we're 6 hours behind, New York. During daylight savings time, we're 5 hours behind New York, which means that football basically starts at 8 o'clock in the morning out here. It is the weirdest thing in the world to watch, football at 8 a.m. and then to watch another game at like around 2. And it's like half the time you just forget about the game because you're just going about your natural day. And you're like, oh man, so half the time it's like I'm still trying to catch up with watching things live because it's just so inconvenient. Like, perfect example. I'm first thing in the morning, I'm going to watch, Jameis Winston and see what the Giants do against the Packers. And I'm really excited to see that because Jameis is
I love
he's a
Jameis.
riot. And so it's going to be an interesting game.
Jameis has a career after football. He's that good in front of the camera.
Hands down. So I'm really interested and excited to kind of see what that's going to be like. But first it just feels weird to get up, run, and then with the morning watch football, and then not to mention the fact that if I'm gonna watch the Hawaii Bowl in Madrid live, I gotta start watching that at 3 in the morning, 3 or 4 in the morning.
That's early because that game is like 8 or 9 in the morning over here. Now here you are, Cheo. You're attacking my entire DNA. You already know I'm upset because Puerto Rico got beat on the baseball field. Then you got to go and bring up my Washington Commanders, who are playing in Madrid against the Miami Dolphins. And the reason that game is the Hawaii Bowl is because my favorite quarterback, Mr. Jaden Daniels, the reigning NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, and the greatest quarterback the Washington Commanders have ever had, he's not playing.
Yeah, well, but that's the thing. It's too bad his mama's not watching this Blind Side. You know what I'm saying? Because she's great at fending off. You can't even holler at Jalen. You know what I'm saying? Because every time you see him, his mama's right there in the background. And hey, I mean, I get it. But get the brother some protection, man. What's going on?
Well, he's been running for his life. They went out and spent a lot of draft capital on Larry Tunsil, the left tackle from the Houston Texans. But the young kid, Connolly, they drafted out of Oregon, who used to be, I think, left tackle in college, is now on the right side. He's been struggling a little bit. But the big thing has been no Terry McLaurin. If you remember that game where Washington beat Detroit to advance to the NFC Championship game last year, Terry McLaurin was just lighting people up. And he's like that. Other than Jaden, he's that one guy on offense that we have that is like an elite NFL player. And when he's not on the field, and he hasn't been on the field practically the whole year, Jaden's got nobody to throw to. Nobody can get open. He's running for his life. And, the NFL will and Jaden doesn't depend on the run. He's such a cerebral quarterback. That's what I love about him. He only uses his legs when he absolutely needs to. But yeah, man, now I'm going to be grumpy the rest of the podcast because Puerto Rico lost and Jaden Daniels isn't playing. My entire DNA, my love of Puerto Rican baseball and African-American quarterbacks is under attack. So
yeah, well, it's funny. Who's going to be grumpy is people that picked up this podcast for the first time. I'm like, what the fuck? They don't talk about anything blurred. All they do is talk about sports the whole fucking time. It's ridiculous. So I apologize and oops, I wasn't supposed to curse, but like here we go.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
learned
another thing. Yeah,
I learned
Cheo.
recently that okay, I failed at this unless we edit it out. Maybe we can bleep it in time. But I got to stop with my Excelsior sign off because it's limiting our audience. So I hereby pledge to watch my cursing. I guess I got to pull out my Luke Cage square jar from somewhere and
Yeah,
actually use it.
this is starting to sound a little like a Luke Cage episode in here. So we
Yeah.
we are technical difficulties, but we are working on it. And you were doing a great job so far. But you're right. Yeah, this isn't a sports podcast. This is Blerds in the Attic. So
Yeah.
let me ask you, brother. So I am not admittedly on Twitter/X that much anymore. As a journalist, I used to be on there all the time, like religiously. And obviously, the platform has changed a lot. But I was strolling through there the other day, and I came across and it was wild that it happened this way. I don't know if it was an algorithm or the fact that my phone knows that you and I are always in communication with each other. But the first tweet that came up was a tweet revealing that you've got a new project that you're working
Yeah,
on.
part of the secret is out. I am attached to a project called "Don't Let the Devil Ride," based on a book, incredible book by Ace Atkins. Ace Atkins is a author, really great author, really prolific author. His books have a tone, the same way that like Walter Mosley's mysteries have a tone, or Elmore Leonard has a tone, where it's basically there's humorous moments, dramatic moments, incredible plotting, just a lot of stuff happening, but in a really cool way. That's what I would say about Ace's writing. He's really an incredible author, and really just to be honored to have the opportunity to adapt that book in that world. I think given the opportunity, it's going to be a great TV show. I'm really excited about it. We're kind of going through the process because people have been asking me, but what's going on? When's it coming out? What's going on? We're at the very beginning stages of it, and so it's just like everything else. It's like hurry up and wait, hurry up and pray. Yeah, hopefully in terms of casting, in terms of just finding the right home, a bunch of other things that have to happen before we get to the point where we're actually filming. But I'm really excited about it, and I really think. Well, first I'm gonna plug my man Ace, like Ace Atkins, and his name is spelled exactly like it sounds, ACE, Ace Atkins. The book is out. Um, I would say like yes, if you read the book, there's going to be spoilers, but it's kind of like Luke Cage from the standpoint of yes, there are certain things that you're going to know if you follow the comic, but there's also going to be twists and turns and different flavors that you might not expect in terms of the actual adaptation. So even reading the book is not going to spoil too much. So I'm definitely excited for you to pick that up. He also has another book called Everybody Wants to Rule the World, which is a different story, but also a really cool book. It's actually coming out on my birthday, December 12th, so I'm excited about that. Um, I'm just trying to think what else. I mean, yeah, like pick up the book. The project, it was Tomorrow Studios. They have a great track record, really great producers. They are behind One Piece on Netflix, which was run by my man, my mellow Matt Owens, and then at the same time they have other projects at Apple. I mean, they've been around for a minute, and so to work with them is just really exciting, honestly. And we'll just have to see how things work out.
That's wild. Did you know that report was going to come out announcing it?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's you know what's going to come out, but you don't know what it's going to say. You don't know what elements they're actually going to use in a press release. Like I mentioned, Blerds in the Attic, and there's no mention of that in the Deadline Hollywood. So I'm not mad at Deadline, but come on, like we're trying to get some publicity for the cast here, so we have to. I guess we just need to just keep talking about Dominican birthday cake every 45 seconds, and then that'll kind of pick things up.
Hey, I'm happy. I'm happy to have a cameo in the show once it gets going. That you're working on right now, and maybe I can wear a Blerds in the Attic hoodie or something like that, and we'll
We'll have you in there like Enzo the baker, but except with a Dominican birthday cake. that's that's Enrique the baker. You know.
Ahí tengo tu bizcocho. But yo,
Claro.
on a serious note, man, congratulations. I know you're the thing about you and the time that we've been friends and gotten to know each other is I know you're constant. There's never a time where you're not working on something. Never since I've known you always have something you're working on. So when I saw that announcement, one, that's the result of all the hard work and the energy you're putting in, and I know you're excited. I know there's just the first step. There's still ways to go in terms of casting and where this is going to land and things like that. But I just wanted to give you your congrats, man, because since this is the first one of the first, there are always announcements with you, but one of the first big announcements since we started Blerds in the Attic. So I just wanted to give you your props.
No, thank you, man. And for me, it's like I've got a couple of features I'm really excited about. I've got a couple of other TV projects that are bubbling. My thing is like people like to do victory laps, before the game is even played, and that's just not how I go about it. I think my Marvel experience has taught me like an announcement's a great thing, but then you just have to just shut everything off and just get to work. Because ultimately, when you do that and it comes out, I don't like talking about things until it's a product that people can either watch or read. You know what I'm saying? And so, while it's fun to be have people talk about something that I'm a part of, and there've been other announcements like the fact that I'm one of the executive producers of Questlove's Earth, Wind, and Fire documentary, and also the Billy Preston documentary that I co-wrote with Paris Barkley, who also directed it. I'm really excited for people to see that. But I don't like talking about things until you can actually see it. So always know I'm always in the lab. I'm always working on something, like you're saying. If you mention me on Twitter 4 times, I'm like Candyman. I show up. So be ready for that. And yeah, it's all good, but never, ever, ever stop working. You know what I'm saying? Prince taught me that. John Singleton taught me that. And my uncle, Richard Wesley, taught me that. And so I don't stop.
Hey, man, well, congrats. You mentioned the Marvel world. Speaking of Marvel, there was some pretty big news. I'm actually going to show you. Let's pull up this video of our boy Ryan Coogler and an
Here we
announcement
go.
he recently had. Let's take a look. 1 second here. All right, here we go.
And has done fairly well in the movie world. He's itching to do this. How quickly will you do that third Black Panther?
If it was anybody but you, I would say I can either confirm or deny. we working that. We working on it hard. Yeah, we working on it hard.
So it's next.
Yeah, it's the next movie.
Yeah, next movie. So now, and we got.
Yeah. So I mean, it's
Deadline,
probably
Deadline gets that. He was speaking to Deadline and pretty much confirmed that they're working on Black Panther 3 right now. The rumored title is Shadows of Wakanda, and that will be the next Ryan Coogler film we see is Black Panther 3. What do you think about that?
well, come on. I mean, every time Ryan comes with anything, he brings his A game. You know what I'm saying? Like Sinners, perfect example. Like, Ryan shoots for the big screen. He shoots for the stars. He's probably not only one of the most ambitious directors out there, he's also one of the hardest working. You know, it's one thing for me to say I'm always working on something. I always got something bubbling. That brother always has something bubbling. And so I think it's exciting for a lot of different reasons. On one, it's like the fact that he was able to, and we've talked about this, pivot with Black Panther 2 after losing Chadwick Boseman. That kind of loss is the kind of thing that gets franchises canceled. And even though there are a lot of critics of Wakanda Forever, if you watch that movie as I have recently, it's so emotional. it's not that, of course, there's the whole Save T'Challa movement and everything else. Recast the T'Challa movement, which they're probably going to finally get their wish. But the way that making Chadwick's death real and not something that you could just very easily multiverse past, or at the very least in the second movie, just waiting to do that, it just gave that movie a certain energy that I think is really fascinating. And the fact that it still just came in just under $1 billion is just still one of the best sophomore efforts in a franchise of all time in that respect. But now, with Secret Wars and all these things happening, there's so many different possibilities as to, without spoiling too much, the end of Wakanda Forever, where we realized that T'Challa had a son who's named T'Challa, which gives them a lot of possibilities in terms of now recasting T'Challa, not in terms of a reboot, but now it's very easy to have a new actor play T'Challa because he is the son of a deceased Black Panther, the same way that in the original movie that T'Challa, was following up his father. So it gives you a lot of themes, allows you to recast. I think the biggest question is going to be like, who is going to be the new T'Challa? Like, there's a lot of, if you want to call it, chatter out there about Damson Idris.
A lot of chatter about him. That's all I see. Every time I see a Black Panther rumor, it's him.
And Damson is a beast. He's an amazing, amazing actor. Too many people still have not seen Snowfall. I'm biased against Snowfall. I mean, biased against, I don't want to say criticism, because one of my best friends, my mentor, my brother, John Singleton, like that show was his heart and soul and ultimately his legacy. And Damson so elevated that show every single season, all the actors involved in that show, all the writers in that show, everybody. That show got better and better as it went on. And the acting is, although it started great, it's a classic. I mean, it's only The Wire is the only show I would put ahead of Snowfall. And Damson does not get enough props for that. But also the thing is F1 is arguably the biggest movie of this year. And he more than held his own against Brad Pitt. I think that if he ends up, being the new Black Panther, not only do I think it's a good choice, I think that the franchise is in very good hands if that's the case. But here's the thing: it's like, what other possibilities are there? I mean, do they go with Sobe Derisu? Do they go with John Boyega? Do you go with Tosin Cole or Josh Samtedeku, who people know from Supercell? Okay, if Aldous Hodge is the dark horse, is Aaron Pierre the light horse? You know what I'm saying? Like, there are a lot of different directions that they can go in terms of who gets recast as T'Challa. To me, this is my curveball. Black Panther is a title. One does not necessarily inherit the mantle. You basically, the whole thing is that you get to that arena, you have the heart shape, you go against whoever you're going to go against, and then if you win, you become Black Panther, take the heart shaped herb, and then are imbued with the powers of the Black Panther. So who's to say there's not an alternate universe where Ndajaka, otherwise known as Killmonger, grew up, had the process, and became a Black Panther. And now, because of the multiverse, because of all the different things that are going to be solved with this Doom thing, who's to say Michael B. Jordan, isn't Black Panther?
How cool?
Or
go ahead. Sorry.
Because that's the thing. It's like, how would Ndajaka turned out had he been raised in Wakanda as opposed to Oakland? How would that have changed his outlook? Would he still have been as ambitious and as angry as ultimately he became in terms of what happened with his father and becoming Killmonger? And because here's the thing you have to remember. This is just from a screenwriting standpoint. The very first movie, the voiceover, Baba, tell me the story of the Black Panther. That's his father telling young Killmonger, the story of Wakanda.
Yes.
So you could say, from a technical standpoint, that the POV of the movie is not that of T'Challa or Chadwick Boseman. It's actually, from an art standpoint, the story of young, Killmonger, in the Njaku, basically coming back for his throne. So it's like and then the biggest surprise, the arguably the best scene in Wakanda Forever.
I already know what you're gonna say.
Yes, and it's one of the best. It's one of the best. Like, honestly, Michael B. Jordan should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor for that one scene.
So good.
And coming back as Killmonger in
that scene is why I'm entertaining what you're saying right now about, is it a possibility that Michael B. Jordan could possibly come back? Because that scene where Shuri takes the heart-shaped herb, she knows she's going to see an ancestor on an ancestral plane. She's thinking she's going to see her mother because her mother just
or her
passed
brother.
away. And no, the camera panning to the throne, and then you think it's going to be Angela Bassett, and then boom, Michael. That's man. I still remember the gasp from the crowd seeing that.
The only time I screamed louder, like, "Oh my God," in a Marvel movie was, of course, the Avengers Assemble.
Yeah.
No. Actually, no. It was the scene, of course, from Endgame where Captain America is able to actually pick up Mjolnir. That was just, I was like Thor when that happened. I was like, yo, that was amazing. But that was the only thing where I just, as much as I understand structure and could predict certain things happening, and Namor, is such a great thing in terms of Namor, which is still why I say, like, the things they did with that, like, when you think about Chief of War and what they should have done with Aquaman, I mean, come on, man. You got Jason Momoa. Why not have him from Hawaii being Aquaman as opposed to some Nordic shit, whatever?
So my guess is, Michael B. Jordan. First of all, these are some great names you threw out there: Damson, Michael B. Aldis,
John Boyega. I mean, Sope. So don't sleep on Sope, because if you watch Gangs of London, I think Gangs of London is finally on Netflix. That show's dope, man.
So my thing is, so this is Coogler confirming this to Deadline. The audio and video we just watched was Black Panther director Ryan Coogler talking to Deadline, saying, yes, the next movie I'm working on is Black Panther 3. Because it's Coogler, and that's very wise of Disney and Marvel Studios to keep it in his hands, especially after the success of Sinners and what he's already done with the first two Black Panther movies.
Yes.
Because it's Ryan, and because he's going to be a part of how that movie is written and how the script turns out.
Yeah, well, I mean, make no mistake, Ryan Coogler is a writer-director. I'm not. This isn't to denigrate those directors that are pure shooters and don't write, like the Antoine Fuquas and the F. Gary Grays of the world, because Straight Outta Compton is an amazing movie. Training Day, and so many epic movies that Antoine has done, including this new Michael Jackson movie. But Ryan Coogler is a writer director, because when you go back and see how much he did with Creed, but really ultimately something like Sinners, which is completely solo written, and the fact that he co-wrote both of the previous Black Panther movies with my homie Joe Robert Cole. Like he definitely is a part of every aspect of the writing of this. And so I don't question anything that he does. And it's not just because I'm, beyond impressed with him and just as purely as a fan, but he backs it up. He backs it up every time. You know what I'm saying? It's like Otani, like, shutting down all those pitches and then hitting home runs. It's like
he's doing
and 4 MVPs. That after a certain point, it's like, what are you going to say? If he wants to do it, let him do it.
So I think Ryan's involvement, to me, I take that as potentially it being a continuation of the story of T'Challa's secret son that very few people know exists. So is that going to be a time leap? Are we going to meet this child when he's already a man? Are we going to meet him first as a child and then he grows up? Is Shuri going to be his mentor? Is Shuri still the Black Panther until this child rises to the mantle? I think there's so many different angles that can be explored by what they did, setting up the fact that T'Challa did have a son, and I can't wait to see it. Obviously, this is probably something. This is post Secret Wars and Doomsday and all that stuff, but the fact that they're working on it now is very exciting.
Yeah, no doubt. And here's the thing: it's like even as competitive as things are, and these studio mergers and everything else, after Sinners, Warner Brothers just needs to lock my man Ryan up for real. You know what I'm saying?
They'd be stupid not to.
But here's the thing: if they do that, Marvel's got to counter. And my thing, I don't know anything about the business of any of this, but what I'm saying is like, why not? Ryan has proven himself. Like, okay, you have a Blade movie that still hasn't gotten made. My man did basically a black vampire spec that kicked kicked everybody's behind. Why not let him put his stamp on X-Men? Why not let him do the kinds of things that the Russos are allowed to do? Because arguably his financial track record in terms of box office success is equal, And so, like, why not give him an even wider swath of being able to do things,
What's amazing is, you mentioned, after Sinners that Warner Brothers should, back up the Brinks truck and lock him up. Imagine if he does get locked up by Warner Brothers and Disney can't counter, or maybe Ryan says, after my third Black Panther movie, I'm done with Marvel movies and I'm gonna keep building the Sinners universe. Let's say WB, if WB can lock him up,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm James Gunn and I'm the co-head of DC Studios. And I know you and I have had this chat before that, just because you did Black Panther shouldn't be this. But I would throw the Milestone Comics universe at Ryan Coogler so quick and say, help me build this. Obviously, you'd have to work a little bit with Reggie Hudlin in that regard because of how much Reggie has meant to that universe on the comic side of things. But I'm just kind of playing fantasy football here as to, if I was the head of WB and I could nudge James Gunn and say, hey, we just locked up Ryan Coogler. And I know that you've got characters like our boy Icon right here.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I wouldn't hesitate if I were James Gunn to inquire with Ryan Coogler if he was interested in the Milestone universe, character like Icon or Rocket or Hardware. Fantastic characters.
Well, no doubt. I mean, I thought like Dwayne McDuffie was a genius. Dennis Cowan, another genius. Reggie's one of my closest friends, so it's like, I think, yes, the Milestone universe with Ryan would be amazing. I think I would let him do whatever he wanted to do. If he wanted to do Milestone, that's one thing. But at the same time, why not have him do Batman? Why not have him do, any other DC if he wants to even do DC? You know what I'm saying? It's just like when you get that kind of generational talent that proves to you that they can do IP driven genre and then flip around and then do something socially conscious, but then in some cases do both at the same simultaneously. Not to mention the fact that he has his own franchise. Like, hey, whatever he wants to do, like, let the brother do it for real.
So in terms of casting, which nothing has been announced and everything is just rumor right now, I'm rooting for Damson. And part of the reason I'm rooting for him is because I finally saw your movie.
Yes, F1 was great.
F1. Finally took the time to watch this on my fourth child, which is my 75-inch Sony Bravia 4K TV. And he was standing toe-to-toe with Brad Pitt that entire movie. And I just think he's got the je ne sais quoi. I think he's got the name. I think doing a movie like F1 where you're going toe-to-toe with Brad Pitt and you're basically rivals the entire time, I think that does nothing but add to the mystique that he could bring to a new version of the Black Panther.
Well, that's what's so interesting is because, like, when you're able to watch a black British actor be black and British simultaneously, you know what I'm saying? Because I loved Idris Elba as Stringer Bell until I saw Luther. And then when I saw Luther, I was like, yo, as much as I loved him as Stringer Bell, as Luther, it's like he is basically a different kind of superhero.
Yeah.
That was everything that was announced, that there's going to be another Luther movie. And I'm so excited to see him play Luther again. You know what I'm saying? And as much as I love watching, Snowfall, I watch episode 1 through 60 every year, the same way that I watch The Wire 1 through 60 every year. And just because the levels that, if you just for an experiment, if you've never seen Snowfall, you don't really necessarily care about the spoilers. As an experiment, watch the pilot of Snowfall and the series finale, episode 60, back to back. You will never see one actor go through that level of just the ups and downs, the heights and the depths of a character. I mean, when you watch them back to back, just with that kind of juxtaposition, if you're not the kind of fan that's seen them all between, but you really just go to the heights of what happens at the end of episode 1 with the ambition and then how defeated he is by the end of the series and back to back, it's Denzelian is the adjective I would say, and I don't invoke that lightly. He's got a range, but to watch him as a Nigerian Brit. I believe Damson's Nigerian. I don't want people to all of a sudden start, shooting at me because I got him wrong. So I didn't Google. It's off the top of my head. I don't know if he's Nigerian or if he's from, or if his parents are from Ghana. But what
He
I'm
is British
saying is,
Nigerian, yeah.
but what I'm saying is that the fact that he would be able to basically, you would hear the Africa in his voice,
Absolutely.
in a different way. Because that was the one thing that was really interesting about when you go all the way back to Black Panther and Chadwick, is the fact that Chadwick, I mean, come on, you would have to put Chadwick and the guy who played Fredo in The Godfather, because you know how there's that whole thing that the guy that played Fredo, rest in peace, John Cazale, how he basically was in 5 perfect movies and then passed away because he was in Godfather 1, Godfather 2, Deer Hunter, and Dog Day Afternoon. And like those were his movies, the only movies they were appeared in. I mean, like, I'm not saying that, rest in peace, John Cazale, because he died way too early, but like, when that is your record, I'm not saying what else can you do, but like, Hall of Fame career, limited appearances. Same thing with Chadwick, okay? Because how can somebody be Jackie Robinson, James Brown, and the Black Panther and rock them all?
Thurgood Marshall.
Oh, I'm sorry, and Thurgood Marshall. Come
Yeah.
on, man. It's like, well, first off, I'm like, who's his brother's agent? Good God.
Let me ask you this, because you had the experience of being a showrunner.
Mm-hmm.
With Ryan revealing this Deadline and it getting out there on social media that, yes, we now know he is officially working on the 3rd Black Panther movie. What would be your timeline in your head as to when you think the casting would be announced? Because they technically don't have to announce, like, for example, if Damson is cast,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they don't say he's the Black Panther right away. But let's just say they do.
Honestly, because this is just okay. This is where we gotta get into journalist mode and journalist full disclosure mode. Okay, like we were both recently co-represented by the same people at M88, although that has changed. There's been kind of I guess an M88 shakeup, but like, full disclosure, because we have similar management, so I'm not speaking from any kind of inside knowledge. But what I would say, just from a pure show running standpoint, if he's a writer director with that kind of movie, with that much money at stake and everything else, and the fact that it's already been leaked, Denzel inadvertently already leaked the fact that he's in the movie, and that's kind of been confirmed, so to speak. They are probably, if they have not already cast, they have it narrowed down to about 2 people right now. And because you have to, because, these movies are like super tankers and you have release dates. And so you have to, because, Ryan works with the best of the best, and the people that he has his own family of people that he works with, the same way that Spike Lee had people that he always worked with every movie, the same way that Martin Scorsese has the same 10 or 15 people that he works with. And that whether it's Ludwig with the music, whether it's Ruthie Carter with the costumes, whether it's Hannah Beachler doing the production design. There's a whole thing. All these things have to happen. And so my guess, just not knowing anything, if he's comfortable enough to talk about the movie in this respect, that means he probably has at the very least a second draft. He's probably working on that. It'll become bespoke once they do indeed cast, because then training, not just contracts, you got to put that person through physical training. You got to stunts, all that stuff. You got to figure out where you're filming. You got to figure out availabilities. So, and then off the same time, because it's part of the launch, you have this whole reboot crazy thing happening with, these two Avengers movies that are coming out back to back, 26 and I think 27. I'm I know everyone's gonna fact check and go crazy, so excuse me for not, having all this in front of me, because I would, one of the things that we do on this podcast is we surprise each other. We hardly ever talk about what we're going to talk about, so it's all off the dome. You figure 2027, maybe?
Yeah.
2028 into 27, because say, for example, you start filming in 26, and then once you're in post and you figure everything out, and also you see how people react to the different Marvel movies, and you're able to escape the reshoots and all that kind of stuff, you might realize that you got serious fire, in what you have. And so this might be bigger than a summer pick. This might be, okay, why don't we release this in the fall? Because we really could be up for serious awards, because Black Panther is still the only Marvel movie that was ever, the original was still the only Marvel movie ever nominated for best screenplay as well as best picture. So that kind of thing could be in the offing. So I would probably say 27, 28 is, meaning that they wouldn't start filming until 26 at the earliest. But you never know. I mean, and then also the same thing, it's like availability. I mean, you have all these other movies, and movies are just strange, man. Like, you could announce everything in the world and the movie doesn't happen. Movies fall apart all the time.
Yeah.
Actors get cold feet. Recasts happen. You just never know. I mean, what I hate about movies nowadays is, back in the day when I was writing for Premiere Magazine, like, you would just have to basically wait till the magazine came out in order to find certain things out. A studio could actually hold a secret. There are so many spoilers right now. Like, I love Den of Geeks, but good, I do not want to know anything else about the Avengers movies, because it's spoiling it for me at this point.
Yeah, I don't like spoilers either.
Some of that stuff, I mean, props to them. They're so accurate. They're telling me things I really don't want to know.
Yeah.
And I miss being able to, not know. And so, like, it's hard to kind of stay away from spoilers. I mean, it's bad enough living in Hawaii, and if you forget that the game is on because you're not used to watching baseball football in the morning, and then you happen to just before you go to the beach or whatever, like, you just look at your phone, and, oh man, you already missed the game and you know the score. It's ridiculous, That's bad enough and heartbreaking enough in sports, but for these movies, for this genre that we've dedicated our lives to following, sometimes spoilers, I hate spoilers. I hate being able to read the trades and knowing that the fact that an actor has announced it in the movie, I know that probably means that he's been killed off, he or she has been killed off of something else. It's not news at that point, because if you know how to read the tea leaves like that, it's a spoiler, so it's just hard. But yeah, like, I think that things are probably further along, because there's no way that a director of that caliber would even be comfortable confirming anything if things weren't pretty locked in or in motion, And that's going to be the question: is who is going to be the new Black Panther?
I think when it comes to Doomsday, and when it comes to Doomsday and Secret Wars, I think are going to be juggernauts, because they just have to be, and I think they'll deliver. I trust the Russo brothers. So that'll be 2 back-to-back hits, which is something that Marvel Studios needs, because the last few theatrical releases combined with the Disney Plus stuff have kind of created this, have they spread themselves too thin kind of thing. So I think if you have Doomsday, then Secret Wars, and then Ryan Coogler's third Black Panther movie right back after that, then I think Marvel Studios is right back in the business of being, at the top of their game.
Yeah, no doubt. But my thing about Marvel Studios, and hopefully I still haven't said anything that'll get me violated, or sued because of spoilers or anything. I just hope that they really begin to have more cohesion between the television universe and the film universe, but not be so precious with the television universe that they don't let things breathe, or that things take years. Like, I think the television universe is the opportunity to slowly tell stories and make stars, and then treat the feature film like the giant sized annual, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'd much rather meet the Young X-Men with a television show about the New Mutants, or a television show set in Grim Malkin Lane where you basically have the X-Mansion as a show. I've talked about this, where you get to kind of see the X-Men in training and understanding that whole thing, so that by the time you get to the movie, boom, then you can really save the movies for story arcs like Onslaught, story arcs like Phoenix. Like, I would just they keep so many different times in the earliest versions of the movies, they just basically bastardized the Phoenix storyline the same way that they bastardized this Days of Future Past storyline. I would just love to just see a comic book accurate paced telling of those stories. Like, I would love to see a Wolverine TV show. I would love to see a $100 million 4 to 6 episode, version of the Chris Claremont, Frank Miller Wolverine. Like Wolverine going to Japan. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing, with just all of it, Yuriko, like Yukio, like all of it. You know what I'm saying? Getting his ass kicked by her father with the wooden sword because he wasn't even worthy of steel. Like, I want to see all of that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because then if you get that stuff out of the way in the TV show, then it allows you to go to even higher heights when you get to the films. And it allows you to not be so precious with the films. And you can just move faster. And maybe if everyone's kind of in sync, you don't make the same mistakes that have been made with the Star Wars universe. Because yes, of course I want to see Mandalorian and Grogu. And I really think this second season of Ahsoka, I think, has a chance to really be special. Because, but when I see how crazy the fans go over watching those scenes from Rogue One where Darth Vader at the end of Rogue One does this thing, or that scene from from the Mandalorian where Luke comes to get Grogu, and there's a great one, like a fan reaction to them watching in real time. At, is it Luke? Is it Luke? Is it Luke? And oh my God, yeah, and how they freak out. Like, that to me is like, what are you doing? Why the hell aren't you just doing an entire series with old man Mark Hamill, pulling in an entire new generation of Jedi, and the fact that he messes up with his uncle, I mean, with his nephew, in terms of like having that be, now there's this whole thing. Now you've got fans that are protesting at a corporate level because they want that aborted Ben Solo movie.
Yeah, the Kylo Ren, Ben Solo movie. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's like, at some point you got to give the fans what they want. I mean, me personally, there is no way Mace Windu is dead. I'm sorry.
Oh, Sam's got to get one more turn as Mace Windu before
second most powerful Jedi. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, over forced lightning and getting his arm cut off and getting thrown out a window. That's ridiculous. There is no way that Mace Windu's not alive. Like, those kinds of storylines. It's just, as a blaming, all people want, man. They want mutants. They want lightsabers. They want comic book accurate stories, but just don't take 10 years to tell these damn stories, man.
Hey, two upcoming Avengers movies with Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom, a new Black Panther movie. Those three things can fix what's ailing Marvel Studios right now if they get them right, which I think they will, just because it's the Russo brothers, it's Ryan Coogler. So better days ahead could be coming for Marvel Studios.
And please put out a Blade movie, man. Holla at your boy. Come on. Like, I mean, like, I'm all I'm saying is, like I'm not. I'm saying this, but I'll say it. Like, I've written from Mahershala Ali before. You know what I'm saying? Like, Herschel is amazing. What is the problem with Black? Come on, I know some people to talk to.
Doesn't help
If
your Black Panther director just directed a great Black vampire movie.
you know what I'm saying? Come on, man. Just give us a Blade movie. It doesn't have to be MCU. Just do it as a one-off. You know what I'm saying? Like, we get it. Man, don't get me started, man. But that's just the fan of me. Like, the thing that people have to understand is that beyond anything else, the main reason this podcast exists is that we're fans. And
Yeah.
so there are things that fanboy me is going to say that, the professional, like my agent probably called me like, what the hell did you say on this podcast? Because people are, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Like, as a fan, let's go is all I'm saying.
All right. Speaking of Black legends, talking about Blade. So last week we watched the Michael trailer together.
Yeah.
And I had a statement about our boy Lawrence Hilton Jacobs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, spoiler alert, since the last time, we do these podcasts about a week apart, what do you think I've been doing for the last week in terms of my screen time and when I actually have free time to myself? Okay, I can watch whatever I want. What do you think I've been watching?
I think probably when you're not looking for more tombstone jokes that denigrate the entire Dominican, community, and the time spent on the couch with YouTube and YouTube television, I think you're probably watching these Michael Jackson reaction videos. Like, I'm telling you, what I want to see. Could you imagine opening the Michael Jackson movie at Hollywood Boulevard at the Man Chinese Theater, and you get about 200 people doing the Thriller dance, like the biggest, like almost Guinness World Book, Book of World Records, like 400 people doing the, dun, dun, the whole thing, like in sync at the premiere. Come on, man. Michael fans are like, Prince fans are one thing. Prince fans are cerebral, and we are emotional, and we get into, and we start talking about like these really really obscure live concerts and these bootleg
Oh yeah,
concerts, but Michael Jackson fans are
no,
just like, come on, man.
it's
They
a
are
different world order.
they make Snyderverse and Marvel fans seem sane.
So I've been watching. I mean, this isn't just something that is just applied to the Michael trailer. This is something that I always do. Everything that I enjoy when it comes to movies, when it comes to streaming shows, television shows, trailers, whatever. I love watching reactions of fans, whether they're good or bad, to stuff like this. So if you are a YouTuber, or if you have made a reaction video to the Michael Jackson biopic movie trailer in the last week, I have watched it. I mean, I have watched all of them, every single one. I can't stop. I keep doing it. The algorithm in my phone has figured it out now. Whenever I'm checking on my older family on Facebook, every video is a Michael Jackson video because my phone has figured it out. But I came across this one video I wanted to share because we were talking about Lawrence Hilton Jacobs from the original television movie Jackson's The American Dream, which was a network television thing, and then it became a staple on like VH1. As I mentioned in the last podcast, this brother scared the willies out of me because of how he portrayed Joe Jackson. And it's not like I was a kid when I was in middle school, I think, when that movie came out, but I started like watching it all the time as a teenager. Even as a teenager, I was like, this brother is scaring me. But I came across this great video because obviously with the trailer coming out, a lot of the people who were part of that original Jackson's TV movie, people are asking them questions. And I wanted to show this video of you because, one, I'm just blown away by how warm and gentle he is. Because and I know a lot of people know him from Cooley High. Cooley High is a little before my time. But
we're not only Cooley High. I mean, come on, welcome back, Kotter.
Yeah. So there are tons of fans of different generations that see him as something. I only see him as Joe Jackson. So let's pull up this. I'm going to pull up this video I want to show you of him talking about that role.
Okay.
1 second. Here we go. All right, here we go.
So I love Michael Jackson. You played Papa Joe.
Yeah.
You were a mean Papa Joe.
Let me tell you something about that too. You know, a lot of people had this perception of Joe Jackson with raising those amazing boys in that family, that he was always stern and mean. And I said, wait a minute. He made 9 kids. That took a lot of love to make them babies.
Yes.
So it couldn't all just be that. For me, in playing it, I played him from 20 to 54, and I was 38 when I did the movie. So I would write on each scene in the different areas why I love my kids, to try to find a dynamic and to find other flavors. Because a lot of times in the script, it was one-dimensional. And all this, I said, come on, that can't be right. He might hold Michael. He loves Michael. He would hold Marlon, and so forth. And even his discipline was a hard, tough love, maybe a little more than maybe it needed to be. But that's how he knew it, because he never got that.
Yeah.
So it was a choice. But, and I'm not saying this is just, a getaway, but look what happened. By the time they got to the Motown machine, they were beyond professional. They were ready. They had this brilliant talent. And it even sprung Janet out of them. I mean, look at all of that. And people ask, how did you get to the characterization of it? I said, well, you read the script. So that gives you a sensibility. I knew Joe forever and the family, so I was around them always. But that doesn't give you the earmark. But I thought of my own dad. My dad was not that stern, but he was tough West Indian guy, and my father, everything was loud. Larry, took out the garbage. Man, it was like, Larry, make the bed. I was like, that was all the time.
I love that interview. I thought it was very insightful. I loved how warm he was in it, and I love how they had the very intense screenshot of him as angry Joe Jackson, looking like he's about to tear somebody up. What did you think of that?
Well, I think what you're seeing is the complexity and brilliance of an actor like Lawrence Hilton Jacobs. Dramatic actors, the best ones, always find points of humanity in some of the most, complex characters that could be despicable, that they find a way to humanize them in a way. Perfect example is like, there's a lot of that, like Lawrence Fishburne playing Ike Turner. Like, yes, Ike Turner was a monster in that movie from the way it was written, but the way that Lawrence Fishburne played him, he wasn't afraid to go there with the character and worry and have the vanity of thinking, what are people going to think of me as a person? And he was just able to just go deep into character and really kind of, go there to a certain extent. But that's the thing. It's like, Morgan Freeman. Like, I remember Morgan Freeman on Electric Company. You know what I'm saying? Which was had no way prepared me for when he played a pimp in Street Smart. You know what I'm saying? Or, like I remember, like my father's mother, my grandma Bessie. Her whole window to the world was her television. Whether it was Hamilton Street Project in New Haven to ultimately when she lived in the Davenport Dunbar apartments in Hamden, Hamden, a city, Hamden, Connecticut, near New Haven. She would just watch. That's really kind of where I learned television structure, is just watching TV at her knee. And honestly, that's how I learned how to tell time, because 1 o'clock was All My Children, 2 o'clock was One Life to Live, 3 o'clock was General Hospital, 12:30 was Ryan's Hope. You know what I'm saying? I fell in love with credit sequences, because when she would watch like everything from Barnaby Jones and T.J. Hooker and Matt Houston, all those shows had these amazing credit sequences with music and theme songs. That's where all that stuff comes from for me. But she, for example, because I used to watch Sesame Street, she never forgave, the actor who played Gordon for being Willie Dynamite. she couldn't separate the actor from that. And so I think what you're seeing is like, you're seeing a level of nuance in terms of how he went about trying to, because there's a hard part about when you kind of talk about actors and writers, you can write all these different things, but when actors bring a different dimension to it, they're the ones that ultimately are going to have to basically play it so that it plays on it. You know, this case was television, but like now that because television is so cinematic and there's really no difference because everybody's watching things on the same size screen. An actor is going to be the person that makes your words and the scenarios that you're writing about 30 feet tall. And they have to be able to characterize that. And so the best writing gives space for interpretation. And the best writer director relationships is a back and forth, is a certain level of like, you know, trust. That was one of the things that I was always able to establish with everyone from Mike Coulter to Alfred Woodard to Simone Missick to Theo Rossi on Luke Cage, and then also of course with Mahershala playing Cottonmouth. Was on one hand you have the everybody wants to be the king speech from the pilot, which when I wrote it, it was just like this kid, I just thought you like a little bitch because I'm not the kind of person to use a closed hand, a closed fist on a woman. I like, where the fuck did that come from? Because that's not me.
Right.
But I heard the character and I wrote that, and then when he took it to another level, I mean, Mahershala is the most pious, not religious, but not. Because when I say religious, I don't mean like he's a zealot or anything like that. What I'm saying is that he is a reserved, humble, serious but funny man, and he's able to leave that on the shelf and then play Cottonmouth. But then when we get to a Kayla Cooper's brilliant episode 7, which is where you really finally get the humanity of Cottonmouth before ultimately, every week people still pissed that I allowed him to be killed. The reason that you care was because we were able to go to the depths of his humanity, and we had an actor who could play that, who could play all those different sides. And that's kind of the thing is like you really want an actor to have that kind of versatility, and I think it's important, and I think that's why it's just like I learned so much from writing for actors, like when I was on Southland, writing for Regina King and Ben McKenzie and Michael Cudlitz and Lucy Liu and C. Thomas Howell and everybody on that. But they're the ones that really taught me how to write for actors on Southland. Southland table reads were just, oh my God, they were incredible because you really got to see what actors would do to language, and what they would do to scenes, and how you can kind of improve your scene work. And for me, the table read is the most important part of the process because then once the actors put it on its feet and make it real, that's what you have to adjust to. And so that's kind of what he's talking about when he's saying like, okay, it was this way on the page, but my motivation was saying that this guy loved his kids. So how do I save these hard moments and hit these marks, but then at the same time express a certain level of humanity that still resonates to this day?
Well, that was the most amazing part of the video for me, was realizing, because he's basically saying that in the Jackson's American Dream movie, Joe Jackson was more or less written to just be Angry Joe, the Joe that is, more or less when you think of Joe Jackson, that's what you think about. He was basically saying that when I was reading the script, yes, it was Angry Joe Jackson, but he was saying there's some humanity here somewhere. This is a big family. There's some love somewhere. Mm-hmm. And some of my favorite parts of that movie, I still remember how he as an actor made me feel, were the moments where he as Joe Jackson was happy, when he had a smile on his face, when it was clear beyond a shadow of a doubt that he loved his kids. Now, my favorite line in the whole movie comes from him, because it's a moment where, they've made it. They're living in California. They're still the Jackson 5. And I think it's Tito and Jackie are getting dropped off at school. And he's like, hey, don't be late for practice. And, Tito and Jackie, like, they turn the other way and they're like, yeah, man, whatever. And he goes, what you say? Like, that's still to the, like, oh my God, when he did that, it was just like the timing, everything was beautiful. But to know that he wanted to, humanize Joe. He wanted to make sure that it wasn't just all anger, but that there was some love. I thought that was great.
Well, no, I cannot wait to see what Coleman Domingo does.
Oh yeah,
As Joe Jackson, because Coleman Domingo is somebody that can just basically, you give him an inch and he takes a mile. He's just such an incredible actor. Everything he does, you want to see him in. Like, for example, this weekend, I'll probably see both movies. I'm going to see both The Running Man as well as the third Now You See Me, Now You Don't. And
he's in both of those.
no, he's only in Running
He's
Man,
in
but
Running Man. He's in Running Man.
I'm gonna, well, I'm a huge Edgar Wright fan, so I'm gonna see Running Man first.
Okay,
You know what I'm saying? And just to see what he does with the Richard Dawson part, is gonna be amazing. And he's just one of those actors that you watch him and you really want to see what he's gonna do, and because he's gonna take a supporting role, but play it with the gravitas of a lead role, but not do it in a way that takes away from his star. He doesn't steal the movie, but he does center himself in a way that, okay, wow, I'm in the hands of somebody who's great. So and that's the thing, Lawrence Hilton Jacobs is an incredible actor, but because of the generation that he was in, he didn't have those opportunities waiting for a black male actor at all. Whereas nowadays, you can make the transition from television to film.
All of his lines in the movie are coming back to me now. Now I hear him saying, that's my blood in your veins, not Barry Gordy. Like it's all coming. It's all. I think I'm gonna have to pull that up and watch it before the weekend's over. Oh, but check. I got to show you this real quick because to say that there are so many great one-liners in this movie. So let me share my screen again here. Here we go. Look at this comment right here. JC Coop 26. Michael, Marlon, you gonna get it. Who left the towels in the swimming pool? That's the comment. This guy just gave this beautiful 2-minute interview about how he wanted to humanize this person and put love into the story. But man, some of those one-liners, like I told you, they stick to the brain.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, that's what I'm saying. Like when you see that one still, and you see his eyebrows, like perfect examples. Okay, Lawrence Hilton Jacobs was in Welcome Back, Kotter with John Travolta. Now imagine if Lawrence Hilton Jacobs gets the opportunity to play a character like Jules Winfield in Pulp Fiction, or there's just, that's the thing, is that even with Samuel L. Jackson, when he started late. For most people, because he was in his 40s, that's considered like a late time to start as an actor. He worked his way all the way up from being, an understudy, in different plays, and then working his way from the Broadway rants to Spike Lee joints to ultimately becoming, the leading man that he became. There was a process and a track record, and it was just like, that's the thing, is that when you look at Sam's arc and how hard Sam had to fight, and then at the same time wishing that there was the opportunity for someone like Lawrence Hilton Jacob to, also have similar opportunities. Because that's the problem. The problem with the way that, particularly, and Eddie Murphy kind of talks about this in that great documentary on Netflix, about there was always kind of like this Highlander attitude, not from the actors themselves, because Black actors and writers, the community tends to be so supportive of one another. But there is this kind of Highlander mentality that there could be only one. And that's what pits John Singleton against the Hughes brothers. And rather than it being a relay race where everybody that makes it is now passing the baton in a way that kind of helps everybody, go a little further. Like, that's kind of the one thing that I would say about this new generation of writer, producer, director. That when we all see each other, we're not like, I don't get mad when somebody announces a job or gets something that I didn't get. I'm like, and I mean diplomatic. I'm excited because that means that A, somebody made it, and B, at the same time, if they are successful, that could possibly be an opportunity for myself to level up. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like they say, don't hate, celebrate. I think that what's really good about this newer generation of young Black actor, actress, writer of any pronoun is that we are all supportive of one another because we realize that our success helps everybody else have an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So switching to, got a little bit of DC news. Recently announced that the actor Skyler, and I hope I'm not saying his last name wrong, is someone whose last name is frequently mispronounced. I apologize in advance. Skyler Gisondo, who's the actor who played Jimmy Olsen in James Gunn's recent Superman movie. The report is that he is going to be there's going to be a Superman spin-off series. Now, Deadline called it DC Crime, in development at DC, and it would be, an HBO Max show. James Gunn did not deny this, but he did respond on Threads saying, and this is James Gunn on Threads, just FYI, there has never been a project titled DC Crime, which that's how I know there are no geeks who ever put this story together, because obviously DC Crime isn't the title. But James Gunn said, just FYI, there has never been a project titled DC Crime in development, not even as a working title. I don't know where that came from, but it's weird. Now, James Gunn, we know he'll pop up on social media anytime if you're loud and wrong. He is not like that, and he's the exact opposite of Kevin Feige, who was never on social media. So it's nice having those two different polar opposites at Marvel and DC. But this is kind of par for the course for what's going on at DC right now. You have theatrical moments, Superman, Supergirl next year. Lanterns is going to be on HBO Max along with, Peacemaker and everything else that's going on over there. So this kind of, Skyler was kind of I don't want to say a breakout star, but his Jimmy Olsen had a little meat to it in terms of that role, in terms of helping save the day at the end, in terms of very comedically being apparently a ladies' man in the newsroom of the Daily Planet and outside in the world. So I think this is a great way to give, and they're talking about Gorilla Grodd, maybe the first villain here, the Flash villain. That's a big deal. But this seems like a nice way to give this character a little shine. I mean, Jimmy Olsen's a very popular DC Comics character, and over the years, he's frequently had his own comic books in the past and recently. So to me, this feels like a great way to give him the shine you're not going to be able to give him in the next Superman movie, and kind of give him his own little thing at HBO Max.
Well, that's the thing is kind of what I was talking about earlier, where it's like you're able to basically use the HBO Max television shows as a high quality way to workshop your actors and introduce stars and expand people's stardom without taking up the real estate that you're not going to be afforded once you have the big $200 million movie. You really could use this opportunity because in comic books, it happens all the time. In comic books, how many different Spider-Man titles are there? How many different X-Men titles are there? Because I remember back in the day when Uncanny X-Men was the flagship, and there were all these different spinoffs. And I really think that the strength of television is the ability to enhance fans, make stars, the same way that, Sam Guthrie was not an X-Men, but if he ever had the opportunity to level up to being an X-Men, the same way that Kitty Pryde at one point got delegated to the minor league when she was with a New Mutant and got pulled back in, you follow the history of them, and so I think it's really interesting because if he really likes what he was able to do with Jimmy Olsen, this is the opportunity to really build that. Also, hey, talking about the Daily Planet, it also gives a chance for my friend Wendell Pierce, to also as Jimmy's boss to do more.
Shout out to Wendell being in Marvel Studios and DC, by the way, because he was in Thunderbolts and Superman.
Well, Wendell's everywhere. Wendell's everywhere because he is not only one of the best actors on the planet, he's also one of the best people on the planet. And so everybody loves to work with him. So no one's going to say, hey, you're in the Marvel Universe, give me DC. It's Wendell. It's like, come on, man. Plus Wendell, I'm going to have to curse for this one. So sorry, Jen. He had one of my favorite lines of all time, which is the best Act Two break of all time, said in line of dialogue. The pilot for Jack Ryan, when he tells Krasinski, he says, "Get on the effing plane." It's the best Act Two break ever. But I actually, for the first time in history, censored myself because I'm trying to expand our audience.
There you go.
But
we're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there.
But I think I like, they're sticking to the plan. This isn't just going to be a theatrical thing. The new DC Studios, DC Universe live action world and animation too, isn't just going to be theatrical. They're going to be doing things on HBO Max as well in the streaming world. And obviously the title of this isn't going to be DC Crime. That still makes me laugh. And I love that DC Crime sounds so bad that James Gunn just had to get on social media and say, no, that's not what I'm going to call it. This has my name on it. No.
I mean, but like my thing is like, why call it DC Crime when Gotham Central exists? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many different ways to really expand that. Like, this is my guilty. Like, I would love to, of course, could you imagine doing a non-superhero show the same way that Penguin did, but like really expanding, where you have Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon, and you also in the same universe also have Wendell, running the newspaper, and just all the different nuances of what that world could be like dramatically, and then every once in a while you have superhero stuff happening. Yeah, it's just like that to me is what the television universe should do. It should lay the building blocks so that when you get to these movies, you already have characterization. You already have an idea of the depth of the storylines, much as we as comic book geeks have always followed all the different iterations of a character during the monthly version of the comic versus like an annual or a crossover or something big, and that's what the films could represent.
No, I think it's a bold move. Jimmy was, I think, a breakout character in Superman, and he's somebody I want to see more of. But there's going to be so much going on in the Man of Tomorrow sequel with Superman and Lex Luthor having a team up. Skylar's not going to have that much room to shine there. James clearly likes I think he's a great Jimmy Olsen. He looks like Jimmy Olsen. He acts like Jimmy Olsen. I like that there wasn't just emphasis on him, saying, golly gee shucks chief and taking pictures every 5 seconds. It's a character you can have some fun with. And I think that's what they're going to do with this show.
100%. 100%.
All right, brother. I think we have wrapped up another Blerds in the Attic podcast. What do you think?
I think we have. I want to say Excelsior and with my favorite epithet, but I will refrain from that. Forgive us for our sports departure. I mean, if we finally get some people,
we like sports.
Watching and following us and liking and subscribing, maybe we can do a sports spinoff. But
this is not First Take. It is Blerds in the Attic.
Yes, it is. And I cannot believe an hour and a half has gone by effortlessly. And again, like another great episode. And I have to say, man, it's been just cool. Just not only just hanging out, but I love the fact that people just get to kind of eavesdrop on our conversations, because we're not talking about anything we don't talk about anyway.
No, this is a text chain in vocal form. That's what this podcast is.
No doubt. But till next week, I am Cheo Hodari Coogler.
And I'm David Betancourt.
Together, we are Blerds in the Attic, without the cough. And yeah, man. Looking forward to seeing what happens tomorrow. I am going to actually be awake and watching these games on time. Like, I guess the question is, am I going to get up at 4:00 in the morning to watch the Madrid Bowl, the Madrid Hawaii Bowl? And then, of course, I'm definitely going to be watching Jameis. And next week, one thing I would like to talk about is both Running Man and Now You See Me, Now You Don't. Because, I think that Hollywood is in a really interesting place right now with making sequels that people necessarily aren't clamoring for, and also doubling down on IP and remaking movies that are 30 years old. And what happens in terms of building stars, and what does that really mean? And, because so many movies that are great movies like Caught Stealing come out, and aren't necessarily setting the world on fire in the box office, but then you see them and you download them and they're great movies.
Yeah.
So it's like things have to be figured out with all these mergers and everything else. We still have to understand what works, what doesn't work. And I can just tell you, somebody in the trenches, to quote the late great William Goldman, nobody knows anything. The only thing that you can do is just write your behind off and focus and just do the best you can, you know?
So come back for that and a lot more sports talk from me and Cheo. No, I'm kidding. It's been another great episode of Blerds in the Attic. We hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you next week.
See you next week. And also, please pick up my man Ace Atkins' book, Don't Let the Devil Ride. Yeah, there are going to be some spoilers for the show, but I'm hoping to actually make a show that is spoiled for you. So pick up the book. Let's do it.
See y'all next week.
Peace.